This conference will now be recorded.
Awesome. All right. So, hi, everybody who's here on this call today. This is our Forgiveness Tuesday, and you have another chance at Forgiveness Tuesday tonight at 8 o'clock. And I will be doing a remote session today with Kelly Leonard, who has taken the EPT training, and she's really very good at this. Do you have your magnets available, Kelly?
Yeah.
Perfect. That even makes it even more fun. For those of you who are new to EPT, EPT stands for Emotional Polarity Technique. It's a completely different approach in emotional health care using the science of forgiveness. And that's why we call it Forgiveness Tuesday, Forgiveness Wednesday, Forgiveness Friday, because what we're looking to do is to resolve unresolved emotional conflicts from the past using forgiveness. And it's kind of amazing. And I hope that you stick around to watch what we've got going on. And if you do any kind of energy healing at all, I think you'll find it fascinating because EPT is quite different. We use magnets, and I've got some here. This is North and South Pole magnets. And we also, I have these great little charts, which is an emotional chart, because we call these the navigational tools, because they help us find the original event or the unresolved conflict that's hanging the person up or making them hurt or whatever. Basically keeping them stuck in the patterns that aren't serving them anymore. And then we have the 7 stages of healing card. So these are some of the tools that we use while we're doing this. The other thing is, for those of you who do any remote work, I really like to be the canary in the coal mine and say, if you're doing remote work, you know something about 5G. And you know that these electromagnetic fields have an impact on us. And when you're doing your remote work, you are so under that umbrella of electromagnetic fields that it's bound to have an effect on you. Not immediately. Some people immediately, they might get a headache or just can't handle it. But over time, it will wear on you. And so I recommend using some kind of energy that on your own body when you're doing remote work. So I use a infratonic sound machine, which is from Sound Vitality. I love it. I put it basically on my abdomen to hold me, to ground me, and to also, keep my systems in balance while I'm doing this work. So I recommend that you have something on you to protect you. Some people use Q-links. Some people put their feet on magnets. I use the infratonic sound machine. So anyway, with all of that, I know that we have a lot to do with Kelly, and I haven't spoken to Kelly personally in a few years other than setting this up. And she was wondering if her and I should get together beforehand, and I kind of wanted to save whatever it is she has for this call. So I need everybody to turn off your cameras, and then I'm going to put active cameras. There. All right. Hello, Kelly.
Hi.
I love the
How are you?
pictures. I'm doing great, and I love the pictures of your new baby. He's big.
Thank you.
He's
big. He's a year now.
How old is he?
A year and a half.
Oh my gosh. I thought he was almost 2. All right.
Mm-hmm.
So how do you told me in the little text you sent me that you've had a lot of like major things happen in the recently, right?
Yeah, in the last like 3 years since you and I have spoken last anyway.
All right. So what kind of work have you done?
I was working pretty intensively about a year ago with Amy, and her last name is escaping me right in the moment. But she's here locally to me in Dayton.
Yeah.
And so we did about 8 sessions together in quick succession, and so we did work we did work through some things regarding my divorce and my relationship with my my new love. And he's my baby's dad. And
So are you still with him?
yeah,
All right. So do you all live together or are you married?
we're not married. We do live together.
Okay. All right. So you've done some around romantic stuff. So you went through the divorce. So what is, like, if you could like bullet point the things that are, I'm going to say right here, and there's no technique out there that's going to cover in one session if somebody has gone through multiple traumas, emotional traumas, physical traumas, one right after another. However, EPT is really good at isolating and strategizing where you need to go first.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what I want to do today. And I also, the reason I want to kind of hear the whole picture is because we might be able to like open pathways of love at a lot of levels, and I'm open for that.
Yeah. So, okay, so I'll give you a few bullet points. I fell in love with Matthew. And he was married at the time. I was married at the time. I divorced my ex-husband, George. And this was before Matthew and I had started a relationship. So, but I had already fallen in love with him, which I think was the catalyst for the divorce. And then Matthew and I did start a relationship, and he was still married. And then his wife became pregnant with their first baby. And then I became pregnant with Kieran Asher, and we were pregnant at the same time. And then she had a second child. And this was all just like very, very traumatic, because he very much wanted and still wants a polygamous relationship with both of us. And
So that's
and
like, yeah, that's a big deal.
it's a really big deal. And neither one of us wanted that. And we actually did try to have that. We tried to, like, to coexist, and we would get together for family dinners and watch movies together and hang out together, the three of us, before the babies were born. But then once babies were born, it didn't feel like it didn't feel like the right thing to do. She and I weren't getting along. He has some severe mental illness, bipolar disorder, that I wasn't aware of.
Okay,
So that's
let me write bipolar. So he's got mental illness where he loses control.
I wouldn't say that he loses control, but he just, I mean, it's bipolar disorder. So he has extremes.
Is he medicated?
No, he has been on medication from time to time, but honestly, it makes it worse in different ways. He just becomes not himself. He just basically is catatonic when he's on medication. It's awful.
All right. So I'm gonna like review where you're at so far. So you're in a relationship with a man who you love, who wants a polygamy, who still wants to have a polygamous relationship with his previous wife, or is he still married?
Their divorce was final in January, so
Okay.
they're not married anymore.
But he has 2 kids with her.
Yes. Yes.
Wow.
But
So does he live with you and her?
No, he lives with me exclusively. I went to Arizona to go to school for skincare, and while I was there, I ended up having a mental breakdown. I was very suicidal, and I went to the hospital and spent a week in the hospital. And during that time, their second baby was born, or actually, their second baby was born, I think, 2 days before I went to the hospital. And while I was in the hospital, the two of them had a fight, and the police were called, and she got a restraining order against him and divorced him. So,
Wow.
so they are split up, and he has no contact with his children at all. And
but he's still kind of like, this relationship with you isn't enough for him.
I don't think any relationship could be enough for him.
Right. So let me ask you this. So how you didn't want this polygamy relationship. However, my question is it because it wasn't working out, or is it because I just I don't want to be in a polygamy relationship?
I didn't want to be forced into a relationship with another woman, which is essentially what was happening, where he was, and it was very complicated because I never knew when he was coming or going. He would spend a couple days with me, and then he would go and he'd spend a couple days with her, and it was just, I just felt always on the edge of, I don't know what's going on in my life right now.
Right.
And so
And, and I'm guessing that you were just supposed to not inquire about the other relationship.
That's not true. He was open to, having a dialogue about whatever I wanted to talk about, but I kind of wanted to just pretend that that part of his life didn't exist, because I didn't want to be involved in it. I didn't want to. There was a lot of guilt and shame and humiliation about being the other woman, and I don't want to be the other woman. I want to be the only woman.
Right. So, all right. So as far as polygamy, you would be, so I'm trying to get like where your line is drawn. I don't want to judge you on it. I just need to know where it is. So that's why my question is,
Okay.
polygamy just not, the reason it wouldn't work is because it didn't work in this situation. Would you be open to it in a positive situation?
I think I probably would be open to it in a positive situation, but I don't know. I mean, I think that I have enough insecurities that I don't want to think of my husband with another woman,
Yeah. Yeah.
you
Right.
know? So
So
possibly in a perfect world, no, I would say absolutely in a perfect world where we don't have insecurities and we don't have, um, where time, money, and other resources are never limited, I think I would do great with polygamy.
all right. Okay. I just needed to know that. So, but it just wasn't working with Matthew.
It
So,
wasn't working out, and that's one of the reasons I went to Arizona to go to school, but I had decided that I wasn't going to come back because I could not continue in this relationship. But the draw that I have to this man and the love that we have for each other, I can't not be with him if I'm in the same city.
strong love. Okay. So, is this everything, or you said there's more?
There's more. So just after I stopped seeing Amy, I had a roommate at the time who she she basically she set me up and picked a fight with me, and got a restraining order against me so that I couldn't come into my home.
Yeah.
And I mean, it's my home. I bought this condo, and she needed help. She had been kicked out of her house by her mother, and that should have been a red flag. But I told her, of course, you have a place to stay, and she came to stay with me and was helping me out a little bit, paying me a little bit of rent, and then she picked a fight with me over Matthew. I said it was over Matthew, but it really wasn't. And she got a restraining order against me.
So your roommate was in love with Matthew too?
No, no, no. She just claimed that it was because of Matthew's mental illness that she didn't feel safe. But Matthew is just the most gentle, docile person around.
Okay.
He'd never raised his voice or been inappropriate in any way, shape, or form over here. But she used that as an excuse.
Right. So
to
is that resolved? The roommate and the restraining order?
Yeah, that is resolved, but I'm still dealing with some of the repercussions of it, because while she had me out of my house, she went through and robbed me of like all of my vital documents for my child, my deed to my house, my birth certificate, social security cards.
So are you just still trying to gather all that
Yeah,
document?
Yeah, one thing at a time. And every time I realize that, oh, I can't get this job that I'm trying to apply for because I don't have my high school diploma. So I have to send away for my high school diploma. But I then relive all of that, which, this is what EPT is all about. Stop reliving the past.
Right,
But I
right.
relive that time of what it felt like to be homeless.
So she basically robbed you of all your identification documents.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh my gosh. And where did she go?
I don't know.
So she just took off. Okay, so this was like a horrible situation, and you're still trying to gather all those documents.
Yeah.
Okay. So what is that? Is there more?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, there's one last thing. So when I was in Arizona, I was doing really well in school, enjoying it very much, and doing really really, really well in school.
Yeah.
But then I had the breakdown and I had to go to the hospital. And then I came back to school. I had 3 weeks left before I completed my 6-month program. And I ended up having another breakdown at school. And I was expelled.
Oh
So
man.
yeah,
Just at the end, you got expelled before you could graduate and get your,
yeah,
it's esthetician, right?
yeah. So I was dismissed from my program 3 weeks before graduating. So, now I have a $13,000 loan for school, and I can't work as an esthetician.
Oh, all right. So this was like a dismissal that cost money. So
Hmm.
it's like you lose love in your relationship with Matthew, you lose all your documents, your identity
Yeah,
documents, and then you,
and go back to my divorce. I lost everything in my divorce too. I didn't hire a lawyer, and I didn't pursue any kind of spousal support or child support. And out of a 22-year marriage, I didn't get anything. Well, I got 60% of the 401k, which I used to buy my condo.
so how are you making it? I mean, this
Um,
is, so, well, before I go there, wait. So
Good
this is
question.
like, I lost everything in the divorce. Then I ended up in a relationship that I really loved the guy, but he also loved his wife and was having babies with her. And he wanted us to be a happy threesome, and I just couldn't do it. So I lost love. To be with him, I have to make sure some of his love goes to her. So I lose love to her because it's not all
Or
going to me.
because she loves him too, and she had to divorce him because which their divorce was actually separate from me. I'm sure that his relationship with me caused a lot of stress on their marriage, but the reason why they didn't work things out is not because of me. It's because they had intrinsic problems in their relationship. So,
Right.
but still,
And
but I
then,
felt like I was taking her husband away from her.
right. And then the other thing is the roommate who basically couldn't just leave, she had to stab you really hard.
Yeah.
Like she just took all these documents. Did she steal money or possessions?
She stole some she stole things that were important to me, like my favorite books, um, a bag of intimate toys that I had. She took
Just weird things.
that she knew
Stuff
were
that just,
important to me, that he had like emotional value to me. And
right.
so yeah, but the thing is the reason why I know that she was setting this up in advance is that she was after this all passed, it was like a week later, my phone was malfunctioning. And so I took it to the Cricket store, and she had changed out the SIM card before she and I had gotten into this fight. Because once we got into the fight, I never had my phone off of me. So she had to change out my SIM card so that she would be able to remotely shut down my phone. So she had very much plotted very thoroughly to do this. So yeah, she did all this to just stick it to me. She called my
Wow.
ex-husband and was trying to tell him that I was addicted to drugs, and that she was trying to get my ex-husband to turn against me so that he wouldn't let me see the kids. She
So
tried really, but he wouldn't have anything to do with that. So
So, well, and she sounds like she's got her own mental illness going on.
Oh, she's very disturbed. She's very
So you got
disturbed. I'd known
people.
her for 13 years and I did not know this about her. She had never showed this side to me. So,
Wow. So, and then you lost money in Arizona, and oh, I asked, how are you making it?
um, some of my bills aren't getting paid. I have been able to make a little bit of money as an Instacart driver. And I own my home, so I only have my HOA fee and my electric bill, and my insurance to pay. So I mean, my expenses are not high, but I bring in a little bit of money doing Instacart.
All right. Okay. And then Matthew works.
No,
So you're
Matthew has,
supporting you too.
yeah.
Wow. All right. So I've got enough here to go on.
You think?
Here, I was trying to establish like what kind of a pattern that you just it keeps like the same. You're getting loss after loss after loss. So another question I want to ask you is, what do you want? Instead of what do you want to run away from, what do you want to create in your life?
Out of this session or out of, yeah. I want to be gainfully employed, and I want to be a stay-at-home mom. So those two things are at war with each other.
Yeah.
And I've always been able to be a stay-at-home mom and homeschool my children. And then this little boy, I feel like I want to give him the same. I want to be able to spend as much time with him as I can. And but I really do I feel frozen when I try to accomplish something. When I've tried to go back to school, and I'm really afraid of failure because I feel like I failed in my marriage, I failed my children, I failed going to school. I have failed businesses that I've tried to start. And I'm afraid of, investing any more of myself in something that I'm going to fail at. And I really just want to take care of my home and my family.
Okay. So there's this fear of investing yourself into anything you love, right? Because I failed, because the failure is so painful.
I don't know that I'm afraid of investing myself into anything I love, but maybe there is something to that.
Well, you
But
said that. Those were your words. I was writing it while you said it. I'm
I'll,
afraid of investing myself.
I've been afraid of investing myself in anything that I'm going to fail at, that I feel like I'm probably just going to fail at anyway. So, I mean, I'm afraid of going back to school and investing a whole bunch more time. I don't know if I'm smart enough to do the math courses that are required for the programs that I've been looking at. I don't,
So
I could go
there's
back to
this,
school.
we're going to go with the frozen and the fear. Before we start with, we're going to do the magnets. I need to ask you on here because you have like talked about a lot of personal things, and I need to make sure that you verbally can give me permission to have this on video.
Yeah, I knew that was part of this, and I know that I can't get through this without being able to, I can't hide from myself, and hopefully this will do me a lot of good, and hopefully whoever watches this video later, um, they'll be able to heal from it as well. So yeah,
All right.
100%.
Well, thank you. I just want to make sure. All right. So I need you to, we're going to start with this, which is developing rapport. So I need green on both sides or blue, whichever magnets you happen to have.
Okay.
So the north pole on either side of your head. And this is a way of establishing congruency and actually bringing her a little bit down back into her body after we've talked about all this. So I need you to breathe in as you squeeze your head together. Breathe in, breathe out. Breathe in, breathe out. And breathe in, breathe out. And then move your hand, one finger at your forehead and one in the back while you still have the magnets on either side. And then lift skyward. Breathe in, breathe out. and breathe in, breathe out, and breathe in, breathe out. Wow. All right. And then, all right, so I'm going to go through and ask some of these things like, so what our focus is going to be is that where we came after we talked about these three, well, actually 4 great losses. I lost everything in the divorce. Then I lost a lot of love because this man wanted another woman in the relationship. And then I lost, at the same time, I lost all my identification documents from a roommate who ripped me off. And then I lost all this money after I'd spent time in a training that I was really hoping I could be able to do to better myself. So, and then you said, I feel frozen when I try to accomplish something. So it's this frozen, and that's that fear. And frozen and fear really go together a lot. Like, you think about people are frozen in fear and they can't talk and they can't move. So you're living in this fear. So that's where I'm going to go. So I'm going to ask, what is your subjective units of distress on the fear and the frozenness? It's 10, and it's when I try to accomplish something. Yes, so I'm muscle testing. So our focus is I feel frozen and fearful when I try to accomplish something, and that's where we're going to go. And these were your words that I'm using that just came out as we were talking. So it's something that's in there that is coming from somewhere else. And on a scale of 1 to 10, the subjective units of distress, did I give that number? Was it a 10?
It's 10.
Yeah, 10. Okay. Let me get out of that chat box. Okay. So it's a 10. I'm looking at my notes. So subjective units of distress is a 10. I'm going to ask, what about elation? Is there some elation that your body has? In other words, like having this fear, like gets me something good. And I actually get that there is an elation on it. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. So it's a 10 as well. So all that means is that maybe the reason this pattern is recurrent and feeling frozen is because somewhere in your brain, in an experience, your brain decided that freezing and being afraid and stopping and holding back would actually help you. So it means that this pattern of feeling that way is actually trying to benefit your life according to your brain. So, and I'm basing that on subjective units of elation as a 10. And at the same time, the distress means the distress is actually also has some benefit in my mind. And that's why I can't chill it out. And so here's what happens with our brains. If I'm holding that stress, that fear, and that frozenness, even though I'm going through the motions, I'm taking the action, I'm doing what everybody tells me I should do, but internally, my brain and my body is in fear and it's frozen. And so by being in that space, to fix it, I have to attract, or I have to see in people situations that allow me to resolve or solve whatever the original event was where I felt frozen and afraid. So I'm going to ask, well, even before I go there, I like getting all these measurements, show up, pay attention, tell the truth, let go. Letting go is not good either. So you're not good at letting go. That's where you're incongruent with that. So we're going to say, is there an original time? So I just listened to what Kelly said, and then I heard a piece of the story in there, even though she's kind of all over the place with so many things happening. I feel frozen and fear, frozen when I try to accomplish something, and that is actually fear. Frozen is fear. When somebody is frozen, they can't move in fear. So is there an original time yet? Conception to birth, birth 5, 5 to 10, age 6. So we're going to go to age 6, frozen. And this would be, I'm going to ask, is this where, is this where the distress is a 10? Yes. Is this where the subjective units of elation is a 10? Yes. So this moment of where my distress level also is necessary for me to feel like something good is going to happen, maybe to get me out of a situation. So this is age 6 and it's fear. And is it a friend, family, current, original, dad? Dad. So I feel fear. Is it dad's fear? My fear. My fear about dad at age 6. Do you know what it is?
Does it have to do with my parents' divorce?
With your parents' divorce?
Yeah.
They got divorced then?
I think that was about the time that my mom moved us out of state. And I was always wondering, Dad was always saying that he was going to come visit, and then he would fail to do so.
So my fear with dad, and it does have to do with the divorce. So what was your fear about it? That if he didn't come back, you wouldn't have food? You wouldn't have a house?
No, I had a food in house. My mom made sure that we were fed and clothed and housed.
So
I
you
feared I was going to lose my dad.
You what?
Feared I was going to lose my dad. That I had
Like,
lost my dad.
so is it my fear that I had lost? That's not it. So you didn't freeze. You weren't frozen about losing your dad. So is there a trauma? Yeah, there's some kind of trauma, and it's a physical trauma. So what else was going on when you were 6? Besides I mean, the divorce was happening for sure. So I'm guessing there was a lot of things happening just like now. So you were 6, your dad was gone. How was your life with your mom? Was everything fine? I mean, was there any kind of abuse going on?
I was molested by my uncle, but that was I'm pretty sure I was still 5 when that happened. And I can't.
Was he related
Sorry.
to your dad?
No, it was my mom's brother.
Okay. So was your fear about your dad not being there, he could have helped you? That this might happen again? Do you remember?
I don't remember feeling that. I remember saying that he was gonna come visit, and specifically like Dad saying gonna come visit, and I would literally be watching like at recess on the playground and watching the road that led up to our apartment complex, watching for my dad's truck and wondering if my dad was ever going to come back, ever going to come visit again. You know, we started saying when Dad comes to.
Right. So you were afraid you would never see him again.
Yeah, I just missed him. I just missed him so much.
And what I'm thinking is I'm going to go with that because that's what you remember. So what I'm guessing then with my fear with Dad, because I'm never going to see him again. Right. I'm never going to see him again. My guess is that possibly as a 6-year-old, your mind thought, if I am terrified, if I'm in a bad way, if I'm falling apart, if I'm like really distressed to the max, he'll show up. Like I'm going to have something really dire in my life for my dad to return. Does that make sense? Was he a rescuer?
I couldn't say that he's a rescuer, although he has rescued me many times in the last year or two financially, sending me some money without me even expecting it. But like there has been a pattern with him that he will come and visit if there's a funeral, but you cannot get him to come and visit for somebody's life, only for their death. So
wow. Wow. So it's true. It had dire circumstances would be if I died, my dad would come. If I'm like really in a bad way financially, he'll send money. Like I only get a connection to my dad if I have a life that is a mess. Because if my life is pretty good, he isn't coming.
And the weird thing is that my dad is, I was telling Matthew this the other day, my dad is the last person in the world that I would talk to about my problems. He's the guy that I call and I tell him when things are happening, good things are happening. And I will edit out all of the stress and all of the hardship and just tell him all the good stuff. Now I'll call my mom or my sisters and cry on their shoulder about my heartaches, but I don't want my dad to know about the bad stuff happening in my life. And I don't know why that is.
Well, and I'm like feeling like at age 6, you internalized it. Like you couldn't express it. Like I can't like express that somehow in my psychological being, I think that if I am afraid, which for a 6-year-old, might be having a bad dream. If I'm afraid, then my dad will come and help me. But he's not here, so he's not going to come. So I have to repress all that fear. And then when I grow up, I forget about it. But when I call him, I don't tell him anything about that.
Yeah.
That it may just be an extension of what this story is going on in your mind, that your mind is trying to resolve. So I'm never going to see him again. And the other thing that's interesting is even now you go, he's only going to come if you die.
Yeah, I mean, I've had, you have like fights in your mind with people sometimes. I don't know if you do. I do. I have literally been like so upset and thought, and imagined one of my children dying and him wanting to come to the funeral and just saying to him, don't bother. Don't bother. You weren't interested in being a part of their life. You don't need to be a part of their death.
Right, right. So there's this upset and this grudge about him leaving. And then the only way he would come back is if something terrible was going on with you, if I'm afraid. And it may be because earlier in your life, that's when your dad may have, he may have helped you when you were afraid as a little child. That whether you remember it or not, that may be why you felt like I need him. But, you said you have these thoughts of, if one of my children died. I mean, that's like the worst ever. But you're settling for these stories instead, which really sucks because of the separation you feel with your dad. The other thing is, I need to have this kind of junk in my life so that my kid doesn't die. So that I don't like go into that pattern, like where I think maybe my kid would die and I have to, so that I don't tell my dad, no, you can't come now. You weren't here then. You didn't show up for these things. So don't be coming around for my kid's death. So it's almost like you're building a story to be able to flash in your dad's face why he's not allowed to come to the funeral. Because I had all these things, and where were you then? But if you didn't create these kind of stories in your life, if you didn't need these to complete or resolve the finish with your dad, where you say, nope, you're not allowed to come to the funeral because you weren't here when the bad things happened.
Or maybe possibly I've created these bad things happening in my life so that I can let him come in and rescue me and I don't have to wait for something like horrific to happen.
Possibly.
Like,
I believe it's going every which way in there.
Yeah. Yeah, because he has been coming through for me, and I mean, he's as much as he ever has been, and more so than he ever has been in the rest of my life, and he has.
So it may be that I'm still like this 6-year-old who's looking for some way to get him to connect.
Yeah.
And to show up for me. And and he still isn't, you know, it has to be really bad before he does. And yet I don't want to tell him on the phone how bad my life is,
Mm-hmm.
but unless I'm desperate.
Right. He has to hear it from my siblings, or I'll
Right.
give my mom little bits of information, and I'm like, you're allowed to tell dad.
All right. Well, and okay, so we're going to go to age 6, and we're going to do the first emotion is fear. And let's see, I'm going to do green and no, red. Okay, so I need green on your kidney and red. And I'm not using magnets for those of you who are going to do this remotely, because I don't want to willy-nilly put magnets all over my body when it's what Kelly's body needs. So I'm just showing her so she knows. And then you're going to squeeze your head. Think about, this is the fear and the frozenness, being on that playground when you're 6 and your dad's not coming back, and you don't know what it's going to take to get him to come back. Maybe if you died, he would come back, but that's kind of scary. And then breathe in, breathe out, and breathe in, breathe out, and breathe in, breathe out. All right. Perfect. Are there any other emotions? This is awesome. Fear is the biggest emotion involved here. And that's what Kelly is living with, that somehow is attracting these kind of stories in her life that make no sense. And because I would say this, just listening to you articulate the things that you've been through, you are a very intelligent woman. You could do any course of study you wanted to do if you weren't dealing with this fear. You know, I mean, that's really true. So, all right. So I need, phase 1, phase 2. Oh, good. So this means you check out. So I checked phase 1, phase 2 trauma, which means that you're so frozen in fear that you operate out of this age 6 unresolved conflict. And it means that you check out. You just disassociate to manage this kind of trauma in your life. You just go numb. You know, I just won't think about it. I will just disassociate, which is kind of a way of, you know, checking out of consciousness, because it allows you to numb up to what you can't deal with, what you couldn't deal with essentially at age 6 in this session. So I need you to put red on either side. If you want to, you know, people have used baseball caps to stick the magnets in, or you can just use them like right up there on your head. And I'm gonna be tapping at the same time, basically. So all I'm doing is I'm trying to get the brain to wake up, to interfere with the pattern where it just goes off and goes numb. So I need you to say, I forgive myself for believing
I forgive myself for believing
that I can't let go of the fear
that I can't let go of the fear
that I felt with my dad when I was 6.
that I felt with my dad when I was 6.
Because that very fear
Because that very fear
is what my mind thought
is what my mind thought
would reconnect me to my dad.
would reconnect me to my dad.
If I'm afraid and having lots of problems,
If I'm afraid and having lots of problems,
then I won't have to die to get his connection.
then I won't have to die to get his connection.
And then breathe. And then breathe in. Yeah. I forgive myself
I forgive myself
for believing.
for believing,
Letting go of the fear
letting go of the fear
that I'm never going to see him again
that I'm never going to see him again
is not possible for me.
is not,
And that I will have to be highly distressed
Can you repeat that?
And I will have to be highly distressed.
And I will have to be highly distressed.
So for him to come and see me.
For him to come see me.
For him to show that I matter.
For him to show that I matter.
For him to care about what I need.
And for him to care about what I need.
And then breathe. I forgive myself.
I forgive myself.
For believing.
For believing.
That I need circumstances in my life.
That I need circumstances in my life.
That leave me in a state of frozen fear.
That leave me in a state of frozen fear.
And anxiety.
And anxiety.
So that I can't take any action.
So that I can't take any action.
To improve my life.
To improve my life.
Or accomplish something greater.
Or accomplish something greater.
Without feeling afraid, I'll never see my dad.
Without feeling afraid.
I'll never see my dad.
Oh, you cut out.
Without being afraid.
Without being
that I'll never see my dad.
That I'll never see my dad.
If I can actually accomplish something in my life.
If I can actually accomplish something in my life.
I'm afraid.
I'm afraid.
I'll have to feel the fear of losing dad at age 6.
Losing dad at age 6.
Over and over again.
Over and over again.
And then breathe. I forgive my dad.
I forgive my dad.
For distancing himself.
For distancing himself.
And disappearing out of my life.
And disappearing out of my life.
Yeah, with no explanation.
With no explanation.
And just this abandonment and loss.
And loss.
And fear.
And fear.
That I'm never going to see him again.
That I'm never going to see him again.
When I was 6.
When I was 6.
And then I would have to be in great fear.
And that I would have to be in great fear.
Or personal distress. Or personal distress.
Or personal distress.
To have a connection, to get my dad to say I matter.
To have a connection and to get my dad to say that I matter.
And to know that I am significant.
And to know that I'm significant.
And then breathe. Yeah. I forgive myself for believing.
For believing.
That I have
I
to
forgive
have
myself.
For believing. I can't become significant.
For believing.
I can't become significant.
Repeat that last part after.
I forgive
I can't
myself.
become significant.
Yeah, and accomplish something.
And accomplish something.
Without feeling fear that I'll never see my dad again.
Without feeling fear that I'll never see my dad again.
And that I don't matter.
And that I
don't matter. To people who love me.
that I don't matter.
To people who love me.
To
And
people
then
who
breathe.
love me.
And then breathe. I keep, you will float out of your head so fast. I mean, I just sense it. I want to bring my hand down here, but it's like, no, you've got to keep your brain paying attention. So I forgive myself for believing.
I forgive myself for believing.
That I have to avoid.
That I have to avoid.
Accomplishing things in my life.
Accomplishing things in my life.
That could bring me significance.
That could bring me significance.
Out of the fear. Out of fear.
Out of fear. You stand here.
That everybody I care about will disappear.
That everybody I care about will disappear.
It will go away. Like my
Go
dad.
away.
Like my dad.
My dad.
And then breathe.
Like my dad.
Yeah, and then
My
breathe.
dad did.
I forgive my 6-year-old self. Do you hear?
I forgive my 6-year-old self.
For believing.
I forgive my 6-year-old self.
For believing.
For believing.
My dad is not going to come back ever.
My dad is not going to come back.
Ever.
Ever.
And he has to change.
And he has to change.
Before I can let go of my fear.
Before I can let go of my fear.
And then breathe. I give my 6-year-old self permission.
I give my 6-year-old self permission.
To let go of the fear.
And to let go of the fear.
Of never seeing dad again.
Of never seeing dad again.
I know the future.
I know the future.
And I don't have to use fear and distressing life circumstances.
And I don't have to sing life circumstances.
Yeah.
Fear and
distressing life circumstances to take away the fear.
To take away the fear
from age 6.
The fear from age 6.
When I believed I'd never see him again.
When I believed I'd never see him again.
And then breathe. I say yes.
I say yes.
To the emotional trauma loss of my dad at age 6.
To the emotional trauma loss of my dad at age 6.
And my belief.
And my belief.
That I had to stay frozen in fear.
That I had to stay frozen in fear.
Or to get him to come back.
To get him to come back.
And I call it all up.
And I call it all up.
And I release it.
I call it.
And I release
it.
From my body, mind, and spirit. And then breathe.
And release it from my body, mind, and spirit.
Without this fear. Okay, I think you can.
Without this fear.
I want you to rub your clavicle points now.
I
So
had I had Matthew do it the whole time.
okay, good, good. I need you to say, I forgive myself. Oh, I'm sorry. Without this fear. Are you still there?
Yeah.
Okay, so
I
without
forgive
this,
myself.
okay,
I can
with,
hear you.
okay, without this fear,
Yeah.
can you hear me now? Okay,
With this fear.
without this
Yeah.
fear, I am free. I am free
I'm free.
to
I'm
stop
free.
stop attracting
To stop attracting
toxic people in my life
people in my life
yeah, who are more interested in using me and hurting me
who are more interested in using me and hurting me
than supporting supporting my good accomplishments.
accomplishments
And then breathe.
than supporting my good.
Yeah. Without this fear, without this fear,
Without this fear,
I am free
without this fear,
I am free
I am
to
free.
invest. I am free to invest
I am free
to invest in myself.
in myself.
And then breathe. Without this fear, I am free to let go.
Without this fear,
I am free to let go
I am free to let go
of all the love and connection,
she froze.
of all the love and connection
Of all the love and connection
my dad never gave.
my dad never gave.
And then breathe. And that opens up massive space
And that opens up massive space
where I can
where I can
love myself,
love myself,
accept myself
accept myself
without chronically creating
without chronically creating
um, massive losses
massive losses
in my life
in my life
and that need rescued.
that need to be rescued.
Yeah. And then breathe in. I give my 6-year-old self permission
I give my 6-year-old self permission
to let go
to let go
of having a tragic life
of having a tragic life
as a way of connecting with my dad and his attention. Yeah.
as a way of connecting with my dad and getting his attention.
Yeah, and then breathe. I give myself permission
I give myself permission
to let go of, I want to say, to let go of the anxiety and fear
To let go of the anxiety and fear
of being robbed by a friend.
of being robbed by a friend.
I let go of all that anxiety and fear and trauma,
I let go of all of that
anxiety, fear, and trauma.
anxiety, fear, trauma,
Yeah. And I forgive her.
and I forgive her.
And then breathe. I give myself permission to accept.
I give my
It's easier to forgive her
It's easier to forgive her
and to forgive my dad
and to forgive my dad
and to forgive Matthew
Matthew
than to constantly create
George than to constantly create
traumatic distress in my life
traumatic distress in my life
that prevents me
that prevents me
from accomplishing something good for me
something good for me
and that prevents me from making the best decisions for me,
and that prevents me
from making,
from making the best decisions for me.
even if it means I don't have any man in my life,
That prevents me from making,
the best
even if
decisions,
it means I don't have any man in my life.
right? Because now I can see
Because now I can see
I just put Matthew in the position I wanted my dad to be when I was 6.
I just put Matthew in the position I wanted my dad to be when I was 6.
Yeah, so he's just holding a place so I wouldn't feel this fear.
He was holding this place so I wouldn't feel this fear.
And Matthew is worthy of more in a relationship than that.
And Matthew is worthy of more in a relationship than that.
And so am I.
And so am I.
And then breathe. Oh, so much better. Without this fear, I am free
I am free
to let go of a relationship that never happened with my dad.
to let go of a relationship that never happened with my dad.
The one where I had to die before he'd come home. And
The
all
one where I had to die before he'd come home.
the fear that went with that. And then breathe.
And all the fear that went with that.
I give myself permission to accept.
I give myself permission to accept.
I don't have a problem making good decisions for myself
I don't have a problem making good decisions for myself
and knowing what is best for me and my life. And knowing what is best for me.
and knowing what is best for me and my.
I have a problem with an old memory.
One more time. I
And
have a problem with an old memory.
pray over those memories.
And I pray over those memories.
I love you, God.
I love you, God.
I'm sorry.
I am sorry.
Please forgive me.
Please forgive me.
And thank you.
And thank you
For everything my dad is
for everything my dad is
and everything he can never be.
and everything he can never be.
And then breathe. All right, so I'm gonna start gauging a few things. You like did great. That was amazing. It was like, moving it was a little bit, and then it just started to rewrite the story really nicely. So I'm gonna say subjective units of distress when I try to accomplish something, 0. Subjective units of elation when I'm in this distress, that's a 0 too. So the 2 number 10s went to 0, which is kind of amazing. I didn't know we'd go that far, but so I want to say, what is my subjective units of distress when I'm investing in myself? I got like a 0 to 1. So it was really just a cyclical pattern that was about your relationship with your dad when you were 6 and what you thought you needed to make yourself okay. So how are you feeling?
Very good. Tired.
Yeah, there was a lot of yawning.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm gonna like let other people, I thank you.
Thank you.
That was an amazing session. And you have got to take some action to create, I want to say, to accomplish what you want to accomplish. And what would happen is you'd take action and you would somehow, it would turn into this tool of fear. So fear would come up because if I actually accomplish this thing, I have to feel fear because that'll get my dad to come. But the fear then would kill the accomplishment. I mean, that would be the cycle that you were kind of caught in. So I'm hopeful that this will help all the way around.
Right.
I'm gonna go here and see if anybody else wants to pop on here. I haven't read. I could go over here and read some of the comments. Wow. Oh, she did great. So we will send you a copy of all the statements that Sherry and kind of the notes that she took on your session, so you can like kind of look it over again. Yeah, action to take to. Yeah, she got it. I was looking to see if she had put any other little. She might have also put some fun stuff in there, just for you from her. That's always nice.
Aw,
And Linda said to private message Linda your email. Just send Linda a private message on Facebook, your email, and she'll make sure you get this. I will also send you a copy of the video if you want to watch the video. A lot of times the chat is the easiest way to review it. And I'm going to thank everybody for being on here. We went a little late, but I think we did pretty good. Wow. Well, thank you, Dana Lupo. I'm glad you were here. Kelly, amazing work. That's what Sherry Hamilton is saying. I'm gonna end my recording, but I'm not gonna end the call yet.
Okay.
There.
All right. Awesome.
And it will say that. I hope that we did a good flyover. Oh, wait a minute. I'm trying to end. Recording in progress. Okay, stop recording. I'm having trouble stopping the recording, so I'm not going to worry about it. Anyway.
Okay. You can edit out the end later.
If anybody wants to pop up, if they have anything to say, you can pull up your cameras. I have active, well, not just active. And if you have any other comments you want to make or say, I'm sure everybody on here is totally sending their loving energy to you, and that wow, that this should help you to start breaking that pattern of all those things, those just having rough stuff happening. All right, so I want to put everyone.
Yeah, just my life floating on itself at every turn.
Right. It's like, you know, getting a divorce, for some people, it feels like it curses their life, but other people, it doesn't. And it just seemed like it was that divorce was the beginning of a cascade of things. And even in the
before I was
divorced, What?
Well, before I was divorced, I mean, George handled everything. George handled everything and kept my life very safe and provided financially. And, and once that divorce took place, I was on my own, and I was also experiencing a lot of guilt and financial struggle because I I just I believed that he would be good to me, and I didn't want to destroy him financially or cause him to have bad credit. So I didn't pursue him for spousal support. And but I mean, I didn't lose custody of my kids, but he's the a place for them to live when we were divorced because or well, while we were separated. And so I relinquished, that status as residential parent, which gave me a lot more and
I
authority
feel
with
like,
them. And
I mean, if I can jump in here, I feel like, your description of the good things in the marriage, I'm not saying there was not a reason to get divorced. That's not what I'm saying, or even challenging. I'm saying there were good things there that you now don't have. Like, it's like,
yeah,
and I'm not saying that it would have been worth it to stay. I'm saying I could have, maybe I was experiencing those good things in that relationship, and that was part of this story as well, why I needed to get out. And then I lost things. So, I mean, I don't want to go into a lot of detail about that, but that stuff is
right.
running through my head. And I'm just hopeful that, it's a hard thing to go through a divorce, no matter who you are, and that you have certainly gone through you've tried relentlessly. Even getting out of the marriage was probably a relentless battle. And now you've tried relentlessly to accomplish things without being married and and it's like it's been one trauma and loss after another. And so my hope is that this improves, because it doesn't have to be reliant on you having this kind of distress to resolve the conflict of loss of your dad. So Dana Lupos is
Yeah.
saying, "Kelly, I wish you a wonderful life from now on, full of love for yourself and fulfillment." Thank you. That is
Thank
amazing.
you, Dana. I
So
appreciate that.
thank you. So anyway, so I'm going to let everybody go. It is 4:15. Tonight, I'm going to be on again at 8 o'clock, and I'll be working, as far as I know, I'm either working with Colette or Rob, and I have no idea what we're going to work on, but we're going to do an EPT session. So I hope to see you there. If you're interested in being a part, if you are on this call and you want to be, if you're a practitioner and you want to do the work, we can set that up. If you're a practitioner or not a practitioner and you want to get in line to have a session done, we're attempting to do as many of these free sessions online remotely as we can during the COVID crisis, and maybe even beyond that. It's been really exciting. I think tomorrow will be number 16 hours of this. So we have done 16, well, today is 15. No, this is 14, tonight's 15, tomorrow is 16. So we're plowing through, and it's been amazing. Jolisa has done a session with someone. Sherry has done work with someone. Natasha has done work. It's been fantastic, and I've posted most of it onto the EPT Works, not the website, but the Facebook page. So anyway, I'm gonna let everybody go. I don't like it when, I don't want to keep you long. So have a beautiful day. Again, love you, Kelly, sending love and good wishes. And you're gonna make this and make it so well. It's gonna be better because you've got that little one to raise too. So
Thank,
my
thank you,
wishes
Annette.
and prayers go to you. And thank you for
All
doing
right.
this. Bye-bye.
Oh, thank you. All right. Bye.